Welcome back to my channel, Noni M Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Tumelo Madlala. Yes, Tumelo Madlala, that is you, Sana. It's your time to shine. We will not talk about you if you were never involved in this situation, but now we have to talk about you, okay? So the moment Tumelo Madlala's testimony could collapse, let's do an analysis when it comes to that. So today we are talking one of the most controversial witnesses in the entire Senzo Meyiwa trial, a witness who was not only present inside the house the night Senzo Meyiwa was killed, but a witness whose testimony has become central to the state case. That witness is no other than Tumelo Madlala, but here is an exclusive question. If you were the trial judge, would you convict 5 men solely on Tumelo's evidence or testimony? Would you do that? Because in criminal law, especially in a murder trial, being present at the crime scene and accurately identifying the perpetrators are two separate things or are two completely different things. And when we carefully analyze Tumelo Madlala's evidence, serious legal questions emerge. Questions about memory, questions about contradictions, questions about identification, questions that could ultimately determine whether the case ends in convictions or acquittals. Let's break this down. Okay, let's break all of those things. Let's break this point down point by point, actually. Number one, the importance of Tumelo Madlala. There is no dispute that Tumelo Madlala was inside Kelly Khumalo's house on the 26th of October, 2014. He was there, he knew Senzo Meyiwa personally. He was the best friend. He witnessed the chaos that unfolded inside that house. That immediately makes him an extremely important witness. Do you know why? Because eyewitnesses who are physically present at the scene can provide valuable information regarding the the sequences of the events, the movements of the people inside the house, the actions of the intruders, the behavior of everyone immediately after the shooting. Okay? On paper, all of this sounds very powerful, right? But criminal courts do not convict on emotions. Courts convict on reliable evidence. And this is where the problem begins. Secondly, the biggest problem, identification. Oh my God, the drama, where the state relies heavily on eyewitness identification, but legal history around the world is filled with wrongful convictions based on mistaken eyewitness identification. Judges are therefore required to approach such evidence with caution. Why? Because human memory is not perfect. Memory fades, memory changes, memory can be influenced, memory can even be unintentionally reconstructed. Now consider this. The Senzo Meyiwa murder occurred back 26 October 2014. The accused were arrested 6 years later. The trial commenced years after the event. The obvious judicial question becomes, can a witness accurately identify a stranger many years after a brief and traumatic encounter? Can that happen? This is a single most important question, because if the answer is no, the entire identification aspect becomes dangerous. Thirdly, the identity parade issue. Many legal analysts consider this most serious weakness, the most serious weakness. Reports emerged during proceedings that Tumelo Madlala attended an identification parade but did not positively identify Bongani Dansi. Think about the significance of that. And the identification parade is specifically designed to test memory under controlled conditions. The witness is presented with several individuals. No one points out the suspects. No one tells the witness who to identify. The witness simply identifies the person if memory permits, okay? If a witness fails to identify a suspect during such a process, but later in court confidently identifies the same person in court, serious questions arise. The court must ask, what changed? Did memory improve after several years? Or was the witness influenced by repeated exposure of the accused during court proceedings, media coverage, or discussions with investigators? This issue alone could significantly weaken the evidential value of the identification that was done by Tumelo Madlala. Number 4, doc identification. Many experienced judges treat doc identification with caution. Why? Because by the time witnesses enter court, the accused are seated in the dock. Everyone knows they are suspects. The witness knows who has been charged. The witness can often already see photographs, media reports, or previous court appearances. The danger is so obvious, Kesana. The witness may genuinely believe they remember, but genuinely belief is not the same as accuracy. The law requires reliability, not confidence. A confident witness can still be mistaken. History has repeatedly shown this. Number 5, contradictions. Another concern when it comes to Tumelo involves contradictions regarding events after the shooting. Questions arose concerning who telephoned Senzo's family, which telephone was used, where the call was made, whether the call was made from hospital or from the house. Now, some viewers may ask, why does this matter? It matters because the court tests credibility by examining details. If a witness struggles with important surrounding events, the court becomes cautious regarding the witness's overall recollection. Contradictions do not automatically mean dishonesty, but repeatedly contradictions force court to ask, is the witness mistaken or is the witness reconstructing events? Number 6, the effect of trauma. Supporters of Tumelo Madlala argue that Tumelo Madlala experienced trauma and that explains his inconsistencies. That argument has merits, right? But now, witnessing a close friend being shot is traumatic, okay? Trauma affects memory. Trauma affects perception. Trauma affects recall. Courts recognize this. However, trauma cuts both ways. While trauma may explain inconsistencies, trauma can also impair accurate identification. Therefore, trauma cannot simply be used to excuse contradictions while simultaneously claiming perfect memory regarding identification. The court must assess the totality of evidence. So, Tumelo, we see you, bro. We see you. Number 7, what would a judge require? No experienced judge would want to rely solely on eyewitness identification. A prudent court would look for corroboration. Such corroboration could include ballistic evidence, forensic evidence, cell phone evidence, DNA evidence, independent eyewitnesses, reliable confessions, objective digital evidence. The stronger the corroboration, the stronger Tumelo's evidence become. The weaker the corroboration, the more dangerous it becomes to rely solely on his testimony. Do you know why Tumelo and Zandi copied each other when it comes to Bongani Ntanzi? Corroboration. Corroboration, Sana. Now, the brutal judicial finding. Number 8, if I were assessing this evidence judicially, my findings will be, first, Tumelo was unquestionably present. Second, his account regarding the occurrence itself deserves consideration. Third, his identification evidence must be approached with extreme caution. Four, his contradictions reduce the weight of certain portions of the testimony, his testimony. Five, without substantial corroboration, I would be reluctant to convict solely on his identification evidence. That is not because he is necessarily dishonest. It is because criminal courts require proof beyond reasonable doubt, and where doubt exists, the accused receive the benefit of that doubt. So Utumelo, because of the other things that we know are so obvious, but I would not rely on him. Okay, the central questions remain: did Tumelo witness the murder? Yes. Almost certainly yes. Did he experience profound trauma? Absolutely. But does that automatically make every aspect of his identification evidence reliable beyond reasonable doubt? That is the question the trial court must ultimately answer. And that answer may very well determine the fate of the 5 accused. What are your thoughts when it comes to Tumelo and his testimony? Do you believe Tumelo Madlala's testimony is strong enough to sustain convictions? Do you believe the court will require much more? Leave your respectful comments or views in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this analysis, please like, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell so that you never miss another episode or update on the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on our next video. Bye-bye.